shot, right during that funeral. And once again, the church was only doing what it does, was ministering to a grieving family to take care of this issue, and the innocent people were caught in the middle. And then, of course, the next one that really, when I said, this is the one that I said, we've got to do something about this, was the shooting in Texas last November. That was the one that really prompted me to do that. And the thing of it was, we saw the pictures of that building and of the congregation, and many of the people in our church said, that building looks just like ours. And that congregation looks just like ours, about the same size, very similar kind of situation. And so I just said, this is a matter I think that we have to take very seriously. And so we started the process actually right in November. We started putting people at the door, giving them some basic instructions on what to do, based on advice that Doug shared with us immediately. And then I asked him, since he was coming here anyway, if he would offer this seminar for our church, and then I was able to open it up to the community. So, Doug Cox, a longtime friend of mine, he'll be able to share a little bit about more about who he is and why he's here. And let's just welcome him and see what he has to share with us.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you. All right, you can ask any question at any time. In just a few minutes, I'm going to pass out a 7-page lineup of what I'm going to talk about. Write notes on there if you want, or just go down one after the other. You can take it home. And all the material that I have here and all the material that I usually give out, I have right on a sheet that you can get it as a Word document. I'll send it to your email address, and then you can open it up. The largest one, I think, is 56 pages. And this is all material that is, some of it is 2016, one is 2014, the rest is 2017 and 18, because so much has been developed to assist church security teams to come up with the latest info. I just talked with one of the 3 agents that I work for, that I work with, and that is Larry Clinton, who is the agent for Brotherhood Insurance here in Indianapolis, in Indiana, and he also covers the Midwest, American Church Agency. And I said, hey, I've got 3 questions. And he said, well, what are they? And I said, and we've worked together, so I said, I just need the latest dope on this. I said, all right, what about locking doors? Should we lock the doors, not lock the doors? What should we do? Now here I can see 3 doors here. I know there's another one over there outside of this area. But should we lock the doors or not? And he said, boy, that's a toughie. Some churches, there's a big church in the Milwaukee area where I'm from, Spring Creek Church, and it's a fairly large church. Once Sunday school starts, they lock all the doors to the Sunday school classrooms, but not the doors to get in. Once the service begins, and like in our church, 5 or 7 minutes after the morning service starts, then we lock the doors, and then one door, we have one of our smiley security people there, because people come up, and it's just like no matter how fast I am, my wife Sonia gets to her side of the car before I can work the little key thing, and she's pulling on the handle and looking like, don't you love me anymore? And I just give me a second. So when people come to the church door, what's going on here? They can be mystified. But we have a sign outside the church door that says, this door is locked for your security and the safety of those who are worshiping this morning. And they're just about, the crust is off, and they understand. So as far as locking doors, if you have 2 or 3 doors, here it's pretty convenient. But if you're going to leave one door open, that should be it. But there should be someone there. And we're going to talk about most of the active shooting situations, including the one in Sutherland, Texas, And, no, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. This is the church. Larry, can you assist me to put this back together? But this is not too different than this church. And First Baptist Church there. The gunman came in the door. Thank you, Larry. The gunman came in the door, and he was in him, and it just migrated into the shooting that it did. It's too bad that we have to lock our church doors. But you can still enhance it. All my money is in the right pocket. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, sir. But it's just something we need to do. We lock our houses. We never used to in my neighborhood. Now we do. So should we lock doors or not? Your board, your people need to make that choice. But consider the alternative and go from there. The second question was, should the church board authorize, because many churches have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, persons, to have on them a firearm during the morning service or an activity. Should they authorize them to carry a firearm? It used to be almost required. The insurance company wanted to know that who it was, that they were checked out, a background check was done, they were certified in whatever you felt they should be certified in, and then you let the insurance company know and the board know. Now, no. You do not authorize someone to carry a firearm in your church security team. You have a list of the church security teams understanding who will be carrying a firearm in your church. And I'm going to talk about this as far as insuring that person. This is becoming a big deal, but it should be done right. The worst thing we can do, and the worst thing I can do, is make church security so complex, so layered, so policy-filled, that actually it's almost not fun anymore. It's not even fun to go to church, you know. Good morning, ma'am. I'd like to see your social security number, please. Could I see your ID, you know, and your assigned seat will be 27. I mean, you know, it's, you want your facility for God to work, people to come in with the same heart they had in the parking lot, come in looking for what the Lord is going to do. My background is law enforcement. I started right after the wheel was created in 1970s in Waukesha County as a deputy sheriff, and from there I came to Milwaukee and joined the Waukesha Police Department right next to Milwaukee. So I was with them, and I trained law enforcement, the Department of Justice, our department, 4 other departments, and the DNR wardens in Wisconsin for about 30 years. I'm an active shooter, not instructor. I'm a logistics guy that's called to a scene to captivate everyone who's coming and make sure that they arrive, they handle, and the things we need to do are done. And sometimes that means just pushing back, and not everybody can come to a scene. And I'm going to explain one of the first active shooting situations in a church that I took care of in 2005. I work with the Waukesha DA's office and run the victim division, and this includes victim assistance. And so I'm one of 3 that are on duty 24 hours a day. And then we respond to sexual assault, domestics, murder, suicide, everything you can name, anything that involves a victim, and do the death notifications. And Waukesha is bigger than Milwaukee County. I've been asked in one of our Grace churches in West Dallas, Wisconsin, was talking about Les Tackenden. Who was that? Oh, Barb, yeah. But someone was getting married, and the wife received a credible threat on her life for that Saturday, so I was hired to be the officer that would protect them at the front door. I always work. I'm not with the Metropolitan Police Department here. I've helped them in several firearms categories, but I'm not an officer here. I am an officer, but not a Metropolitan Police Department officer. So, like in West Dallas, though it's right next to us, I contacted the West Dallas Police Department, told them if they can bring a squad out, because the squad sitting near the front door of the church, you know, this person who was going to come, maybe not today, maybe another time. And I would suggest you do the same. We did it at our church, and I'll explain that. I've been asked to provide protective services for some of the pastors who speak. The last one was at the Berean Bible Fellowship at Cedar Lake 2 years ago, when there was a credible threat, and the FBI certified that, and so there were two of the pastors who were threatened, and there was two of us, one from Colorado, one from me from Milwaukee, that were in the services to protect these two pastors. Isn't this silly? I'll shoot to the crust. I have so many brochures here. I'm going to show you some as we have time. But this is the bottom line stereotype of the person who's going to shoot in a church. They have been abused. Oh, we've heard that so much. But they've been abused some way. It's only 22% that have been in this stereotype. Someone hurt them, someone challenged them, someone made them feel bad. And I'm going to talk about an active shooter situation. Same thing. I've got my report that I filled out for that one. 99 people in the church. So this abuser will come. Why does he come to the church? Because in this church are all these nice, enjoyable people, smiles on their faces, loving God, loving each other. I'm not loved. I'm going to come in there and kill them. And we can't determine them coming through the door as this kind of individual until they get in. And I'm a certified instructor in pistol, shotgun, rifle, and, OC and taser, but also in sniper or rifles. There's a new firearms denomination right now. Just a new set, a new thing. We used to have shotguns, had to have length of 26 inches. There's two guns out now, one made by Remington, one made by Mossberg. They're about $335. They're 12 gauge, and they have a 14-inch barrel, and they're this long, and they are called simply a firearm. And they can be hidden between my knee and my belt. Someone could walk in here with a coat on, you'd never know it. It's terrible. I've been shot 3 times, and I began teaching church security in 2005 when I responded to a shooting, and I'm going to go over that just in a few minutes. So, I've met a lot of you, and I don't know all your churches, but I want to hear what churches are here. Let's start over here. Anybody? Okay. All right. Wonderful. Okay. Thanks for coming. Moving along? Okay. Okay. From this church? Okay. Pastor Don Summer right back there, he's from this church. He's the pastor here. Yeah. He was here on time, too. Yeah. Okay. Sir? Same? All right. Sir? Okay. Okay. Ma'am? Ah. You're here. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. She's from here. That's pretty well it. I want to ask a few questions. How many of you already have a security team in your church? Okay, all right. I want to start out by saying you can have a security team in your church with one person. One person. I don't speak at, I go to seminars at, when I get back Thursday, I've got 2 seminars in one day. One is an active shooter seminar, and the other one is a church security seminar. They're at big mega churches, but I deal with churches that are small to medium, 100 or less. All right? How many of you that have a church security team, how many of you train 1 or more times a year? Okay. All right. How many of you have an assigned medical staff? All right. That's something you can do. Thank you. That is perhaps more important than church security for a gun is if the pastor has a stroke or someone else, they fall down the steps, or just having people there. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. How many of you had some type of incident, not a medical emergency, but some other kind of incident where your church security team had to respond? What was the incident? Okay. Did you raise your hand down? No? No? Okay. I know. Thank you for... Anybody else want to share anything? All right. Check him out. See if he has a gun there. How many of you have church security teams and you cooperate and work with the board of your church? All right. This is extremely important. When I responded to Don and his request to come here, I have to involve myself with the board if they're uncooperative or they really don't want to get it in, they don't want the added responsibility, whatever. The board has to make a decision to go ahead on this. It's not because this is under the board, everything in the church is under the board. It's because there's funding for the church security team, things that you'll need, and I'm going to give you a starter list of just things that you should have, and expenditures will have to be made. So that's one of the reasons. And I think Don mentioned already, but anybody here have a church security team plan that's down in paper? Okay. I used to help write handbooks, and there's 2 theories about handbooks. One is it could be objective or subjective. And if it's subjective, that means I don't like how you look, ma'am. I'll talk to you later. But it's subjective, or it's objective. 2 eyes, mouth, nose, perfect. We can use her. That's objective. But handbooks can get just so thick. Policies can get so overbearing. And legally, the best handbook is one that is really very small, not very thick. And so the thicker the handbook, the easier it is for trial lawyers to sue. So in your policies, though, there are some nickels and dimes that need to be there, and I'm not going to discuss that here. There's so many helps there, but I'm going to show you one. But just so you know, you need something. If the handbook is Vacation Bible School policy book on church security and its team, and you open it up, the first page, we wish to glorify God. Second page, and protect those that worship. Third page, there's 3 of us, Bill, Tom, and Eric. You know, and we promise to do whatever we can. And the 4th page, we will call 911 if there's an emergency. One person, that's all it takes in a church, just to see that it's time to call 911. And I know there are police officers here, or past officers, and we never get upset at going to a house because they feel someone broke into their house, and then after talking to them for a while, nothing's inside. Oh, Jake, did you close the door for sure? I'm not really sure. And we don't get mad at them or upset or anything. We're here, thank you. We've searched the house. It's clear. You can go in and bye now. And same thing. If the police come here, everybody will get excited. You know, seeing the squads and the lights. And then they'll come here and find that, oh, well, it's okay. There's just one person. If you got 2 people, then there needs to be one inside and one outside. Now, they've got a gentleman there behind in this church who's in charge of between this door and that next door. But there can be one outside and one inside. Well, you got 3 people. Okay, you've got one in this room who's sitting about where he is in case someone makes their way down. Now, in some seminars I have more time, but I don't. But I would have talked to someone who would have actually started walking in here and right up to me. And if the security team, the 3rd member, is in here and does something to thwart that person, that's their job. The 4th person could be the pastor or someone else. And the pastor would tell everybody to get down. And in here could go a 3/8-inch plate of steel. But I'll tell you, who is the direct target of almost all shootings? The pastor. So our pastor, Dan Walgast, he said, I'm not going to get out of there if someone comes in. I have to talk to my people. I said, Pastor, see that door? You bend down and get over there. You would be surprised how many people, when you bend down, they don't know where to shoot. You know, the target disappeared almost. It didn't, but get out that door. And then, and I have this written in the notes that are coming, go out the door and go to your car, Pastor, or go to, like, they have a little shed out here, and you'll see it in my notes. Go to the west side of the shed, or in this case, I guess I had it wrong. It's the east side of the shed, and stay there till we come and get you. The person that's in here, very important. The pastor's important. But the 911 person is the most important person. And in most churches, it's like Larry right up there. He's doing the audio. And he's the one that calls 911. That person should have an articulate voice, somewhat calm under pressure, and call 911. If we had a police officer here tonight, and I don't know if you want to do this, but I would have them explain to us how to talk to dispatch. Now, the police department talks, hi, Squad 6, go ahead, Squad 6. I'm going to be 10-4 on a 1047, doing a 1076 with Brookfield. 10-8, something like that. And those numbers mean something. The fire department, on the other hand, is, we are moving west on Star Street to the fire. We've just passed another zone. They talk in regular talk. Talk to the dispatcher in regular talk. Don't talk over them. This is what's happening in dispatch. Hello, 911, what is your emergency? We have a man with a gun in our church. While you're just said those words, she pushed 2 or 3 or 4 buttons, and she'll decide, is she or he, whether it's sending 1 squad, 2 squads, 3 or 4 or more. And the emergency. Already a man with a gun, they've got 1 ambulance coming, and a fire truck. All these things while you just said, we have a man in our church with a gun. And then wait for him or her to ask you questions. And as you're asking questions, they're already typing it out, and they usually have their computer in their car, and everything is coming up. They're all geared up and set. If you have a person outside, then that person should be directing the emergency responding people to the door that is most central to getting into the church or to the sanctuary or to the gym or somewhere else. So, 1, just someone to call 911. 2, someone who's outside and going to see what's going on and come back in here and tell the person who's talking. Or they'll see it right here, and he's talking and answering questions. 1 inside to direct the people in here. The best thing is that they go down in the pews, or in this case, the chairs. You want them out of the line of fire. Working gang patrol in our biggest mall in Milwaukee area, Mayfair Mall, when they redesigned it and built it, the police department asked if we could put in a jail, a booking room, a holding spot. We'd have doors in between some of the stores, and then around the back. If you go down in a mall now, you'll probably walk by, and the doors are usually gray or beige. But those doors just go into a hallway to the back behind the stores, and that leads to a central place to go downstairs to the booking area and the jail. And we found, you know what I mean by a flashbang, a group that they all are together and we're going to all meet at the mall. They could say, we're all going to meet at Grace Church and scare you silly. But we're all going to meet at the mall. And there's usually 1 or 2, they used to be gang presidents. They're not anymore. But we found if we pull the main person out of that group of young people and just put them in through one of these doors and take them out, all the other kids are going, oh, wow, there's no leader here. No one's fighting. Well, might as well go home. It's not quite that simple, but it's close. Any other questions anybody has? Just feel free to ask. Yes, sir.
I have a question. As far as the 911 call, I know for residents, if you call from a landline, the address and stuff is registered. Is that correct on this side?
Mm-hmm.
What about cell phones? Is there more detail that the person would need to give up front, or is that part of the process?
The cell phones are becoming more and more connected. We see some logistics on the screen about that number and where they may be by GPS. Second, the person, do you know the address of this church? What is it? The person who's calling 911 has to know the address of the church. How many, well, I shouldn't ask, I don't want to embarrass you. Come right in, sir. You'll be next to speak. If you've been in a car accident and then the officer asked you to sign something? Did you ever see your signature? What is that? You lose all your fine motor skills in an accident or stressful. Adrenaline does this to you. You also get this vision. It's called tunnel vision. So after an incident that happens, someone like officers will come up and will look you right straight in the face. How are you feeling, Doug? Because if I look over there, he won't see me. He'll see my face, but if he looks over here, he won't see nothing, or she won't. So we ask that our people calling 911, and they've been with the church for 15 or 20 years, they have the address of the church right in front of them. And even though the dispatch may know where we are, we want to remind them where we are. I want to ask two people, we're far from the beginning, but I want to ask two people to briefly pray for our evening together and for the safety of our churches. And I want to encourage you to add that to your list of Bible study and prayer, people at home praying for your church, that you pray for safety, God's work in this and your church. Satan would be thwarted. Add that to your list. Pray for safety and protection in your church. So who would like to pray? I'd like two people for a brief prayer. Looking, one, okay. All right, go ahead.
Dear God, thank you that we're able to be here. Lord, that we all come from many backgrounds and different denominations, God, but this is an important topic, Lord, something that's been on our hearts and our minds, and it is something that needs to be discussed, Lord, that we can take it back and share it with our congregation. Lord, it's amazing to see all these different denominations sitting in one room, and it's just very encouraging. And help it to be a wonderful time of fellowship as we move together, many denominations as one, to protect the people that we love most. So we just be with us and be with the speaker as Doug presents the information tonight. Pray this in your name.
Heavenly Father, I ask for, pray for the leadership of the congregations as they put together these teams. I pray for wisdom and guidance. We understand we want to have a proper balance of precaution and safety, and yet to be able to maintain a sense of welcome and openness, a feel of just freedom in our congregation, and give us the wisdom that we need to be able to find that right balance so that the people can come to the church and be safe and be protected, but at the same time feel that not feel oppressive or in this sense of fear. And so again, we thank you again for all of these people that have come together. What a blessing it is that we're able to have this opportunity.
Amen.
Thank you, Doug. Pray for,
Amen.
Thank you for his safety in coming down here, and just bless this time with us together. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Let's look at God's word for a second and see what God says about this important subject. 1 Timothy 6:20. Now this will be in your notes. I'm going to give these out here shortly. O Timothy, guard what was committed to your trust, avoiding the profane and idle babblings and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge. 2 Thessalonians 3, verses 2-4. And that we may be delivered from unreasonable and wicked men. For not all have faith, but the Lord is faithful, who will establish you and guard you from the evil one. And we have confidence in the Lord concerning you, both that you do and will do the things we command you. The battle is not yours. The battle is the Lord's. You're not good enough. You'll not respond fast enough. But like Ephesians 6, where we have 5 defensive weapons and 2 offensive weapons. Anybody want to tell me what the two are? No, that's a defensive weapon. So what are the offensive weapons? Well, that's a defensive weapon. Well, if you're in a B-1 bomber, and I have been, on one side behind the pilot is the defensive coordinator. On the other side is the offensive coordinator. Defensive is projecting what kind of battle, armor, whatever, radio to get rid of the enemy. Offensive is something to mess up the radar and all the kinds of things that they can do. Offensive weapons, in this case, you'll find them right at the end of the list, is prayer and standing. So God asks us to put on the armor of God and pray and stand, and boldly stand. I'm going to read something, and I'm going to pass this out. Oh, boy. Yeah, thanks. I have only 15 of these. That's how little I was underestimating. Oh, terrible. All right. I have 15. We'll get some more. Listen to this. If we confront and we have somebody who just doesn't fit, who's aggressive and comes into our church, then this is what the little card is that the guy, the gal there is going to say. Outside on our church sign it says, all are welcome. Christian, welcome. All come to worship the Lord Jesus Christ. The public can come. We expect respect for our people and our building. But we are concerned. Why are you here? Our concern is for safety of all our people. We do protect our building and our people. We lock our doors when we are not here. We watch all who are here when we are here. Disruptors are not welcome. This is God's house, not yours. You are scaring our people and insensitive. As security here, I'm asking you to come with me to the outside door and not to return, or we'll talk to them outside. You have to decide what you want to say. But if someone is disrupting the service, even our pastor knows that one of us will come up and talk to this individual. I'm not trying to be offensive or something, but we're shaming them in front of everybody to cool it. And then take them outside. Right now, again, the people who are coming in to disrupt your services, and some will just come in and holler and make a big scene and so on. And don't feel you have to drag them out of the pew and everything. Talk to them like adults, but command what you're trying to do. But thank you, Don, that's appreciated. But that's something you can say however you want to say it. It's up to you. I'm going to need some more, Don. I think we have 30 here. This is why I don't carry. A little play on words. I don't carry a gun to kill people. I carry a gun to keep from being killed. I don't carry a gun to scare people. I carry a gun because sometimes this world is a scary place. I don't carry a gun because I'm paranoid. I carry a gun because there are real threats in the world. I don't carry a gun because I'm evil. I carry a gun because I have lived long enough to see the evil in the world. I don't carry a gun because I hate the government. I carry a gun because I understand the limitations of government. I don't carry a gun because I'm angry. I carry a gun so that I don't have to spend the rest of my life hating myself for failing to be prepared. I don't carry a gun because I want to shoot someone. I carry a gun because I want to die at a ripe old age in my bed and not on a sidewalk somewhere in the afternoon. I don't carry a gun to make me feel like a man. I carry a gun because men know how to take care of themselves and the ones they love. I don't carry a gun because I feel inadequate. I carry a gun because unarmed and facing 3 armed thugs, I am inadequate. I don't carry a gun because I love it. I carry a gun because I love life and the people who make it meaningful to me. Now, if you want a copy of that, we'll pass these out. I'll get this one too. I'd like to take 5 minutes, and I'm going to read a report. After a while, there should be 2 sheets you have. One is why I don't carry, and the other one is about who you are in our church. Raise your hands if you don't have both of them. In 2005, there was a Church of God meeting, 99 people, in the Wisconsin room at the Sheraton Hotel, big hotel, next to Brookfield Square, a mall in Brookfield, Wisconsin, just right outside of Milwaukee. And the prior events to this is that the church had been meeting there for 3 or 4 years, no problem. The crime scene that we came to was 8 people dead and 4 wounded by gunshots. And the shooter killed himself in front of everybody, shooting through the right temple. Terry Ratzman, 41, of New Berlin, Wisconsin. No criminal record. He used a 9mm Beretta with 3 magazines. He fired until out of battery, your magazine is empty, and then loaded a second magazine, firing 22 rounds, all which were fired within 1 minute except for one. He killed the pastor seated right in front of him. He was at the back. He looked at a young boy seated right next to the pastor, and he shot him dead. Looked right at him. We don't have any motive to this day, but we know that he had said he was upset over a taped sermon he had heard a couple of weeks before by one of the chief evangelists of the church. He was depressed. He left the service upset, then returned and immediately began shooting. There were 8 dead, but 7 were victims in the church, and then 4 who were wounded. The 7 who died were a 74-year-old man, 55-year-old lady, 44-year-old man, 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy, 51-year-old man. And the victims that were shot were a 52-year-old, 19, 21, and a 10-year-old. When I was called, we got there, and there was just a massive response of uniformed officers, and sorry to say, but there are wannabe officers. So we know how to do this in Milwaukee. We actually set up 2 rings, so if you see police officers coming, and all of a sudden there's people stationed here, and then the next ring people stationed there, and then the next ring people stationed there, especially if you're near an expressway like we were. Did you have your hand up? Oh, sorry, Genesis. All the law enforcement personnel that came we're conditioned to have a sweet smile on our face. We're not, what are you doing there? Because you don't know when there's a big situation like this. And usually the local police will have the closest one, and it goes out until the state patrol has the farthest ring. When we arrived, it had just happened, less than a minute. We had 80 people left, 19 left by themselves already. And what we did is picture a motel corridor, all right? And then over here is a big room. Well, we had to clean all these rooms out of people. So if you had paid for a night or whatever, and you were dressed or undressed, you were asked to leave and go to a holding place. And then we moved 5 out of the room at a time. When we got to the room, there were, at the beginning, 99 people, either dead, bleeding, everyone, men, women, and children, all hysterical. So we put 4 officers at every door down the hallway. So you had 2, here's the door. There would be 2 facing this way, here's the door, and on that side of the door, 2 facing that way. And all the way down, because we had people running, trying to get out, and we wanted to keep the people there, which was terrible. So we had 32 officers in 80 feet. No one could come and go. Even my ID, because I was not in uniform, my ID slipped underneath my collar. This was in March of 2005. It was cold. And they all knew who I was, and they said, sorry, Doug, until you see the ID. I mean, they were really ready to hold the line. The protocol was set up for the cooperation and integration of all the law enforcement. The Sheridan staff did an excellent job of security because they just listened to whatever they were told to do and help the guests. Then we had a media center, and you'll see in my notes, you've got to pick someone who's going to be the media person for your church. And of an incident, well, I'll read it in a few minutes, but you've got to have someone who is the spokesman. And quite frankly, everyone else needs to just shut up and no gossip. Our biggest problem where everybody was calling everybody, and word was getting out. So we set up a fake media center. So we had all the media and the TV stations and all their stuff coming over here, and they were over there. The actual media area was way over here. But then all the roads led into one spot to let people in and out. And that was run by the fire department. I don't know if you know this, but the fire department doesn't necessarily always go with the police department. There's a little rub between them. Well, we want the fire department testing who's coming there to respond to help with the incident, because they're not going to just, I'm with Brookfield PD. Oh, do you have your ID? No. Oh, sorry. There's just wannabes who actually think they can just stay. I'm unfortunate, a lot of police officers say, oh, you want to help? Where you? Oh, that one. Okay, go over there. And, under the stress of the moment. But this incident was something else. Our pagers that we have are like smartphones. There's so much that can come across them, including complete history of this individual and so on. They don't just go buzz. But we had a presence. It was like Disney World in a sense. We had people smiling who were there in security, and we had officers, including myself. One time, I went outside after working in the room. I went outside into the snow, and I just bawled for about a minute and a half. And after that, I blew my nose, cleaned my eyes, and I could go back in. But it's stressful. And so if something happens in your church, it will be stressful. Trying to keep calm was tough. And interviewing the witnesses, like in your church, if the police say, please stay here. When they release you, you're gone. Not the security team at the church, when they release you. But we had to interview these witnesses, and there were 2, a lady and her son, 16, and he was shot and bleeding. We took the mother and the son into a room, and they were just hysterical. And, you know, you just, men, I really can't say I saw that many men hysterical before. But we found out something that day. Karen from the FBI and Bonnie from Brookfield PD. This lady, we know she knew what Randy said after he shot everybody. There was something he said, and we needed to know if there was another shooter, because we had all these police there. Understand, there could be someone else who's here who wants to shoot. So she says, crying, "Well, can't my son go and get some help? He's bleeding badly." And one of us, Karen, Bonnie, myself, I don't know who it was, said to the lady, I said, "Here, would you put this up to your ear?" "Sure." What did Randy say right afterwards? Oh, he said he was the only shooter and that he's going to probably kill himself. And did he say why he did it? He didn't like the message. And we went on and interviewed her. Take the phone away, right back to hysteria. You know, people drive down the road. But I'm saying that we discovered that the cell phone can be a calming thing to someone who's hysterical. All right, I can't dwell any more on that. But it's just important to understand that if a shooter comes in here, it's going to be a wildfire. We're going to have people yelling and screaming, some running, going out, no matter what you say. And you'll see in my things to purchase is a red sheet and a black sheet. Have that handy. It'll be in my notes. But the red sheet is to cover someone so that you don't see the blood going through the sheet. Just have that ready so you can cover up. Or even if someone who had a heart attack, your medical staff, take it from there. No medical staff, put a black sheet over everything but their face. Life can be tough. I seek to give you knowledge on better preparing your church to successfully react to most, not all, problems with church security. The property incidents, a fire, tornado, structural failure, electrical fire, all kinds of things that can happen, they'll have to be taken care of by the emergency responses of police, fire, and first responders. Knowledge I can give you today, and I'm going to give you a lot of resources and a lot that's available. Many of these booklets that I have here are $20 each. Some are, this one here is $40, that thick one. That one there, I'll show you how to order and how important that is. But the others, I have them on that sheet, and I have permission so you can print them off, and you can look at them right on your computer and decide if it's really something you'd like to have. But skill is something you do by training and working in situations and scenarios. And someday, you need to start practicing this. You can do it. We have meetings at the men's fellowship one every Saturday, but then in-service training we have every 3 to 4 months. And then one thing needs to be added. Your church security team needs to take a CPR test. The training is important, and it has just changed about 1.5 years ago, how with a baby and with an adult, so you need to be upgraded on CPR. All right, now, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I have I have 15 copies of my notes. So, there's 7 pages, Don.
We can copy
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to start passing them this way, and I'll send you a copy as well. Oh. Anybody who has got a copy, I've got pages 7 and 8 here. Check to make sure you do have that. Please decide on somebody who's going to document this situation that happened for your files, and include your insurance company in announcing or notifying them. Your insurance company will be paying for any lawsuits. So if you have a question, we're going to have a trampoline at our VBS this summer. What do you say about that? And if they say no, it should be no. If they say yes, you can have it under these conditions. Just remember that if they're cued in that I don't like surprises, they don't either. Let's put it that way. And if you think if they come in and inspect your facility, if we had a police department come in here and do a safety check, now this church is fairly new. The fire department, when they do their safety check, they're going to rate you up for things. But the police department will mainly look, well, how will we react when we come in? Can we see in there, or is there lights here? That's what they're looking. They're not looking for handrails and stuff like that as far as risk management goes. But I'm going to read this statement. Be careful not to give out much information about your church history, the number of people in your church. This is the media person. This is the one everybody goes to. So what happened, Doug? I'm sorry. Andy Kern is our media guy. Give him a call. Well, you must know everything. The number of people in your church or at an incident. No names of anybody until the police department have released those names, and they'll do that after the victim or the next of kin have been notified. So just follow your police department. Sometimes you'll have some young bucks and ladies on the police force, and they're not as experienced as others. Still follow them. Your greatest cover will be, I followed the police department's instructions, and just take it from there. Any questions? Gossip is such a powerful tool. Most people who spread gossip feel it gives them friends, but they don't spread the truth necessarily. The board of your church, I'm on page 2, halfway down, will have to decide if they wish to give permission, I covered that already well, no, I didn't, to carry a weapon or use OC pepper spray. And now, I checked, Indiana, you can carry pepper spray here. And I saw 3 or 4 police supply businesses here in Indianapolis area. And so you can buy anything there, including firearms. You just can't get the police price. So now this is an OC spray. Those little ones come in a little pink leather holder with a nice little chain on it. Forget them. Get something you can get your hand on. Now, this is the OC spray I carry. 0.2% of the pepper ingredient. The one you can get is the consumer one. It's 0.17. To my understanding, no one has been able to see if you go down faster with 0.17 or 0.2 pepper spray.
Excuse me, we ran out of toner.
If you can share, I will include it in on what I'm sending you. So you'll make sure you get one there. And I will do that on Thursday when I get home. Well, Thursday night. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your understanding. These are about $15. If you buy pepper spray, then I want you to buy 2. Why would you buy 2? Well, that's close, But you need to test it. Don't get a foam. Don't get a cloud. Get a stream. Now, anybody want to get sprayed here tonight? In the police department, we have to be sprayed. You know why? In the state of Wisconsin, I assume in Indiana as well. If someone sprays me as an officer, I have the legal right to draw my weapon and stop the threat. In this case, shoot him or her dead. Because I have known when I'm sprayed how incapacitated I am, and they could grab my gun and shoot me. All right? Now, did anybody want to take me up on this? You can buy an OC spray this large, and if you do a lot of hiking, like my wife and I do, you'll see the rangers or wardens carry this, and it's called the bear spray. It's the same thing. If you don't want to spend that much and you want to spend half of that, $7 or $8, you buy wasp spray. I'm serious. You can put that up on top of your refrigerator. It's not going to be any better if the kids spray each other. They'd never do that. Your kids are perfect. So I'm going to show you what this is. Inert. It says inert. Here. Let me see that. See it? No, don't you. Does it say inert? Okay. And there's where you put your finger and push down on that. So when my wife walks around, she has the pepper spray going to the mall or something, and it's in her purse, and it's all set to go. It's not going to go till you push down with gusto. These will last 5 years, about 12 shots. If you fire one today, and now in 2023 you have to do another one, it's going to be there for you. So this is a stream. Now this has got bleach in it, so it'll show the effects on all the carpets and chairs. Okay, this is inert, okay? The main ingredient is water. Now look how far it goes. By the time you get it out, get calmed down a little bit so you can actually aim and shoot it. That person is going to be here at the table already or running away. But I'm just saying, with this, the thing is to use it. As an officer, if I spray somebody, I have to call first responders, fill out reports, and oh boy. For you, I'm suggesting if you have to squirt somebody, you squirt them, get in your car and leave. Don't sit there and I have to fill out a report. Forget it. Go. You can come up later if you want to try this little lever in there. Boy, I'm going to include these in, I'm just going to give out my master here too. Well, it's not stapled, so I'll just give you this one. This is an OC spray, like instruction booklet on when and how you should use it and why it's so important concerning the number of rapes and date rape and everything else. Use this. Now this is, yes? No, not that I know of. Never even heard of it mentioned. It's not like the dye they put into a bag of money, you know, or you spray and it leaves a color there. Because, when we get sprayed, then we have 5-gallon pails, and we dunk our heads in there and water hose on our faces. This is an irritant, not an inflammatory. Now we know one person who has died from being sprayed in America. They get pretty close, but you spray in this area. In our squads, we actually have a paintball gun, rifle. The paintballs are filled with OC spray. And up to 120 feet, we can hit someone right here, wherever we want to hit. And that'll stop them as well. It does not affect everybody, but probably 99% of everyone else. For me, when it hits me, I'm down for 40 or 45 minutes. I can't think, I can't talk. It is just like flaming. It's after my son eats one of those Mexican meals that blue smoke comes out of his ears. He just, it's bad, but it does its job. Why do police officers like that in the continuum? First we have our voice, then our hands, then objects we carry, a baton, things like that. Then comes OC spray, then comes tasers. And when we reach tasers and we use the taser or a firearm, which is the last one, deadly force, we start writing reports. So I'd rather spray them. But what's important for a police officer, forget all those reports. Disengage if I can and call for backup. But that doesn't always work. But this is OC spray. This size is all across America. You'll get the green one, which is a little less in potency, but not much. Ooh, man. Coming down. Know who is carrying a firearm in your church as the team. You hear people talking. You can even ask people if you want, but I would suggest you don't ask people if they're carrying a firearm. What would be the result of that, possibly? Oh, I can carry one. Oh, they asked if I would carry one, or if they can interpret it. So it's not, everyone who's carrying a firearm, please sign up here. We'd like to know. Oh, no, don't do that. I better ask the second question. Would you be able actually to shoot someone? I carry a firearm, and I sit about here. So if someone comes in the back door with a gun, or without a gun, and they start walking up the aisle, and they're not getting to a seat, and I'm 4 rows back, well, this is 3, and if they're not, I'm drawing my firearm already, and I'm right in their chest. Now, in police training, if someone has a knife, well, it's white, but if they have a knife and they start running 21 feet from me carrying a firearm, they're here by the time I've drawn my firearm. 1.7 seconds max, maybe even a second. Yes, sir. Talking about the runner. Oh, so you're saying 35 feet.
They can get to you in 35 feet faster than you can draw their firearm.
Okay. And you have to, for police people, we have to assess the threat. Do they have a weapon? Do they have a delivery system? If someone's in a wheelchair and they're approximately there is 35, 38 feet to the door, if they're going like this, I can't shoot at them. They don't have a delivery system. They can't wheel faster than I can move away. Neither here nor there. Check with your insurance company if they would cover you if you're authorized, or you're on the list for a person who carries in your church. If you're just CCW guy and you're just walking in the church like you always do, carrying, nobody knows, and someone comes in and you're going to help, God bless you. I'm going to be very scared of you because I don't know what you're going to do compared to the team. That was the other question Larry Clinton said from Brotherhood Insurance. Don't put a sign out in front of your church. You shouldn't. You can, but weapons are not allowed in this facility. In fact, there was a shooting at Aldi's in Milwaukee area in Wisconsin, and a guy walked in with his CCW, had his firearm with him. Someone came in to rob, aimed the gun at him, he pulled and shot him. Aldi's not only was going to sue him, but asked the police to arrest him. They couldn't. Aldi's from Illinois, now the whole company, backed down. All signs are gone. They can't do that. So the insurance company knows that you may put up that sign, and you'll see them a lot of places. And there's rules on CCW for schools and other things. Some states, church carrying a firearm into a church is not so good. In August of last year, the Texas legislature passed a law that Texas, and I have the article here if you want it, you can have it. Texas churches can have their own church security team armed. They couldn't before August of last year. The shooting took place in November. Who shot the shooter? Remember? Yep. He's in the house next door. He and his wife saw this, and he came out with a rifle. I still wouldn't ask the question. This is a subliminal thing that's going on underneath. People talk. I'm not really interested who's carrying. I just want to make sure that our church security team is prepared as much as they can be. In the NRA magazine, and also, I'm going to talk about this in a second, in the Concealed Carry magazine, and this organization, United States Concealed Carry Association, is in West Bend, Wisconsin, north of Milwaukee. And now I forgot my train of thought. Why did I bring that up? Yes, thank you, but okay. Senior moment. But we're concerned that the team is functioning. Oh, I know. In that magazine, there's 2 or 3 pages. In the NRA magazine, there's 1 page showing of just people in their house with a concealed carry firearm out in life, and they handle the situation. Shoot at, don't shoot, scare, or kill the intruder. So in Wisconsin, you have to take a class, but I still say, how many people can actually shoot somebody? In our department, the biggest training is shoot or don't shoot. Situations that are portrayed on a screen, would you shoot now? And I was a firearms instructor, and you constantly educate this person in what you're doing, and you have to slow down. Is this a real gun? Who said no? Oh, good for you. Did you see a lot of the new guns? Pink, blue, red, with the flag on it? You can hardly tell. This is not a real gun. Is this a real gun? Nope. Nothing inside the cylinder, barrel, nothing. Fake gun. Is this a real gun? No. Good ear. There's a bar cross inside. It's a fake gun that looks like a P-38, a 9mm German gun. If you're going to be on the security team, someone walks in with a firearm, and it's not a real firearm. Worst case scenario for me is a child with a gun, and I have less than 2 seconds to determine that's a real gun, that's a fake gun. If some little kid comes up to me in my uniform and says, "You're ugly, officer," I can't shoot him. If he comes with a baseball bat, I can't rise to the response. So rising to the response of the threat is very difficult, and that's why security teams train, so they get to trust one another. Sir, do you use radios in your, okay. We use cell phones. We can talk a lot. I'm not against radios. I have a radio. Okay. Good. These are application forms if you want to look at insurance provided for you if you are carrying a concealed weapon and are qualified to carry that. It is expensive. The cheapest carry insurance, I think, is around $250 a year. And this is what you get, and you can even pick your own lawyer from their list of people. And I'm an officer. If we're carrying somewhere, you better believe it. And if I shoot somebody, and it's me, just me, and I know exactly what to say as an officer, but as a person, what do you say? You say very little. And they'll give you a card. I carry it in my wallet just so I don't forget and start blabbing. But it's important to understand these things, and I'll be glad to talk to you. And by the way, here, I'm going to pass these out. There's plenty here. This is my name, a fictitious phone number, my phone number, and my email address. No one in this church can act on behalf of the Metropolitan Police Department. Sorry, I left our department for our church, Menominee Falls PD, sorry. When the Metropolitan Police comes here or the fire department arrive, they tell you what to do. You don't tell them what to do. If they ask you to back off or drop something or you have or a weapon, immediately do so. They're in charge. And be glad of it. The board of this church must decide. We talked about locked doors. These are the kinds of incidents you need to be preparing for. Active shooter, medical emergencies of all kinds, fire or electrical or water problems, stealing from the church or a coat room or cars in the parking lot, abusive person, that's didn't you have someone, Pastor Summer, in your church? Someone who's on drugs or something?
I had actually I don't want to share about that.
Okay, that's fine. People could collapse from a medical emergency and weather emergencies, and pick your force, your church security team from your church. They should understand and know your theology, your Bible understanding, what the gospel is for your church. They should be not sympathetic. This should be their house of worship. And you should have background checks. If you don't know how to get a background check, they're down. Some places are free. Most of them are $7 to $25. But you should do it. And then the medical team, on the bottom of page 2, the medical team, that should be, and it usually is a volunteer group. Now, my wife is an RN. A couple years back, she let that certification go. She can help with the medical team. She's very well trained, but the medical team has to be certified in their position. They're a doctor, a nurse, a CNA, whatever it is. They have to be certified, and that certified needs to be in force now. But they can be all volunteer. And if you don't have anybody who's medically trained and wants to be on your medical force, good.
Well, actually, I wanted to kind of go back.
Go ahead.
The issue of locking doors.
Sure.
Could I just take kind of a poll here from various churches, like just one person from a church, because only have multiple people? Are any that here that do lock their doors after the service begins?
3? Oh.
Are there any that are considering doing that? Thinking about it? I'm just curious.
Again, as far as the insurance corporate structure of the 3 biggies, Guide One, Brotherhood Mutual, and Church Mutual. In talking to their chief agents for their companies, that's your choice. You have to decide how open you are or not. Yeah.
Actually, since I have this opportunity to talk to different places I work.
Sure. No problem. Good time.
For those that since they do lock their doors, how do you make sure that you maintain a welcoming
Force.
attitude? Yeah, how do people not feel unwelcome in the church? We have somebody watching to make sure that so they're locked just to the auditorium, but what about the building? Exterior doors. How about it?
We lock them up about 10 minutes after service starts, whenever they come stragglers come in, run the regulars, once they come in, I lock the door. I'm an usher also, so I keep an eye on my door.
So you're there in case somebody comes in late.
Comes in late, I can let them in, and if the minister's finishing up their service, I can lock the door. Or I personally will walk them back to the door, if I got somebody in the door.
I'm passing some things out. This one here was armed police in your, or guards in your worship service. Anything else there, brother?
Just was wondering if anybody else had a. We just locked the doors to children.
If you make a decision, you'll have to put one on. I mean, this can go in gradients out. For instance, someone comes with their child gets a token, and they get a wristband, and when they come to pick up their child, those have to match before the child can be released. And the biggest problem is a couple who are divorced, and a husband comes sooner than the class is over to pick up their child. There's been a problem at home, so they'd like to take their child home, and he's not even has any court permission to get his child. And then you as a church come under scrutiny. Don't get scared out of your skin. I mean, it can happen, and it has happened, and there is no specific policy, protocol on releasing the kids to the children in your church other than, I know Mrs. Abel, and that's not Mr. Abel or something. You just can't do everything. You just can't. Pretty soon you're spending more time in this than you are in God's Word. Just worrying about it. Okay, I just passed out something on firearms. I'm going to have all these on a separate sheet because I didn't have enough. I'm embarrassed. I'm going to pass these out. This, and include it there. And I'll make it clear on there. These are the things I passed out. Maybe you got a copy or didn't. Here they are. This is how to set up a security team and where in your church. And how you can, maybe I'll pass this out over here. This young lady. Don't throw it at him. Just be careful there. But there's a suggestion on there on a media person, where they should be stationed at the church, what the audio guy should do. Sometimes the audio person can't do it. If they're in a closed, isolated box somewhere in the narthex or the back of the church or whatever, no one can talk to them, forget them, move on, get someone else. But the most important thing is you call 911. The worst case scenario is that it was real and you had a real problem. The best case scenario, it was not a problem. You greet the officer at the door, you give him a cup of coffee and a donut and say, sorry, have a good day. You know, they're not going to bawl you out. By the way, I'm wearing 2 holsters. Now, in police work, we have a holster that there's a specific way to draw that firearm out. And it'll only come out one way after you release a holding device. This is not what I wear in our church. I usually have a sweater or a suit coat on. And this is the firearm that I carry. This firearm is loaded. It's on safe right now. This one has a safety. This is a Smith & Wesson 45 Shield. I only put 5 rounds in here. I could hold 7. 1 in the chamber at 8. Why? The most shots fired right now, 3. Why am I going to walk around with 8? Now, as officers, in our Glock 22s, we have 15, 15, 15 in the gun, and 1 in the chamber. So we have 46 rounds we have to account for. But we're not in the church all day long. I'm just saying that this firearm has a safety. In church, this firearm is not on safe. I want to use it. This other one here. This one here is, I can put OC spray in here, or, what is your name? John, would you come up here a second? Would you look at that firearm and don't point it at the audience and tell me if it's empty? Okay. And this firearm here, don't point it at the audience. There's no magazine. Thank you, John. You may go sit down now. I'll be aiming this direction, so you may want to move. In this holder, I can put my semi-automatic. I can put a .357 or .38 revolver. And this is a fairly new firearm. This is a Cal-Tech PMR 30 22 Magnum. 30 rounds. And I can put it in here. I could put it back in this one. So I am looking for one holster that I can do many things for. Why would I shoot a 22 Magnum? This is a shotgun shell, 12 gauge. That is a 223 AR-15 round. Do you think we should shoot those in church? No. Then why do you guys think we should shoot it in our houses? We don't carry a .357 or a .44 Magnum. A 9mm round coming out a 3-inch barrel will go through 5 sheets of half-inch drywall, through your bedroom, those 2 walls, into the bathroom, through the next 2 walls, and kill somebody in the kitchen. That's a 9mm. It's not even a .45. So when you're shooting in a confined space, you have to think about this. That's a .45 long Colt. This is what I shoot, which is a .45. This is a .40. I've shot hundreds of thousands of rounds as an instructor with .40. Nice round. This is a .38. Now that .38 is not, I know this is boring to some of you, is not a 158 grain .38 bullet. This is a 200 grain. When it leaves the barrel, it starts to spin. I wouldn't want to be hit. This is a 22 Magnum. Travels as fast as a .357 Magnum. It has the same force as a .38. and this is a 22. Which round has killed the most people in the world? Who said 22? You're right. Why do I choose to carry a 22 Magnum? No. Because I could shoot, and I would actually, and I can prove this, but I won't hear it today in your church. See that switch on the wall? I could actually shoot the button out of the center. And when you're nervous in church and you pull out a big gun, I'm just saying, you may think it's going to be this great big bomb that you're going to throw. But if you can't handle it, don't handle it. Get something you can handle. Anybody ever shoot a 22 or a 38 in your bedroom? This is scary stuff here, but all right. I'll tell you, in your bed, yes? Oh, you have? Oh, maybe. You shoot a 22 in your bedroom or a 38 into something, that'll stop the round. You won't know the difference much. And the person who's coming in, the attacker, will not say, now, was that a 22 Magnum or was that a 38? And I'll tell you something even more important. The guns in our house that are available, there's 2 for Sonia and I, are loaded. What is in the first chamber, or what is the first round? What's the other word for a round that's got a bullet in it? The other one is a blank. You can make a blank. Just take your pliers. It's not going to go off in your hand. Pull the bullet out. Dump out a little bit of the powder, less than half. Fill it with cotton and put it back into your firearm. If you're going to have a firearm that's loaded in your home, whether you have children or grandchildren, I've never responded to a juvenile shooting in a home where they fired more than 1 round. So if there's a blank in there, and you have a blank in the gun you're going to have available in your house, also, the intruder's not going to... Now, was that a real round, or was that a blank? And if you've ever fired a 12-gauge primer, they're so loud that in a room it would be loud. I'll just say that. So I'm just saying, of all the rounds, pick what gun you're going to have and carry. Now, I'm in the 4th seat waiting for an intruder. And because of that, I'm going to throw a pig of an iron out this barrel because it's going to be close. I'm going to be probably shooting 2 or 3 feet. And I will aim right here, but more so right here. In firearms training and police work now, this is where we train. We want to disengage. We want to stop the threat. If you shoot me in my heart, I still have 3 minutes to do dirt. But if you shoot in this area and it goes into my spinal cord, I'm down. It's a blood sport, I guess. Any questions? All right. Okay, we're going to move on here quickly. God calls you to be prepared, ready to stand and act, at the bottom of page 2. Even Satan knows you're ready. Whose battle is it? The Lord's. I pray earnestly before I do my work, and when I'm at church, I don't want to shoot anybody. I want to bring them to Christ. But what I have to do, I will do. Top of page 3. If you see something and it just isn't right, say something. You know, we're hearing more about that these days in whatever's going on. You know, if you're at the mall, you're at the home, you're in the yard, you're in the grocery store. If something isn't right, say something. And so for our people, every once in a while, we'll have a discussion in a 10-minute moment, which we have at God at Work in our church. Every Sunday morning we have a 10-minute something, God at Work in our church. And I will instruct our church on something. That's the time we'll also do, get this, a fire drill. Disruptive? Yeah. How often do we do it? 2-3 years, one time? Because of the people who aren't there 2-3 years later, the people that were there, they'll help you. This is a fire drill. We go out here. Here's that list of things to buy. This is just the starter kit. At minimum, you could purchase 10 OC spray. Why 10 and not 5? Yep. We're going to test it. And they're going to see, they'll feel, this will not squirt. You know, if I drop it, this thing is, oh, hang on, sorry. Because you jumped, I usually drop my firearm to show that that won't go off either. But we'll not do that. But right, we want to test it. We want to make sure you understand how far it squirts and that you have to aim it. And you'll probably start out here, like the old gunslingers, you know, they went like this. Boom. Police officers don't do that. When it comes out of the holster, we're aimed. This is the first part of the draw. The second one is right here. The third is the search right here, and the fourth is way up here. But, so a lot of people, they start the OC spray. All right. I don't care, as long as they're doing it. On July 31st, 2016, we had a man with a gun in our church. The Sunday before, this guy, Tony, came into our church, and he was being very assertive, telling people what he thinks of the government and other things. And he was confronting a lot of people, made our people feel uneasy. I read that little article. This is our church. Not word for word, but he got the gist of it. I took him outside. Now, I'm not afraid to do this. You may be afraid. Let me also say something. I'm usually scared stiff, but I'll do the right thing. Scared stiff. You ever look down the barrel of someone who wants to kill you? You go in your pants. You're scared stiff, but you do the right thing. You get out of his picture, get down on the ground, run into him, kick him. Oh, by the way. Oh, you don't have hymnals. Oh, too bad. Yeah. If somebody comes in here and you had hymnals wrong, maybe you can throw a chair instead. You throw your Bibles and hymnals at them. You know what they'll do? That's exactly what they'll do. I don't care if they weigh 300 pounds or whatever. They'll actually tip their gun up and they'll go like this, and all I need is 2 seconds. Now, maybe you need more time, but I'm just saying, you know, use something. If it's not right, do something. But we had a man with a gun. So I called the police, and I talked to them. I knew his first and last name, that's all. And I have never, and I will never, as an officer, look up anybody on their background in my family, people I know, others, well, maybe Don. But anyways, nobody. So I wasn't going to look up their history, criminal, whatever. And it was discovered that he was just let go from work for carrying a gun. And he was told not to carry it. The next Sunday, I told the police I'd like a police presence of a squad in our parking lot. I got there the next Sunday for church early as I normally do, and I, whoa, 1 squad, 2 squads, 3 squads. This guy had quite a criminal background. Here he comes. And the police will want you to do as much as you feel you can. Well, there's a couple of us who are trained officers, so we saw him come in, came in through the back door, and I said, Tony, I see you've got cargo pants on. Yeah. Now maybe you won't talk to him like this. One pants pocket is hanging tight. Do you have a firearm in there? Yes, I do. Tony, I want you to come with me right back out. And I took him out, signaled the officer, And all I have to do, you don't have to, hey, hello, yeah. It just signal the officer, come, and they took him away. I don't know what they all found. I'm not going to look. I'm just saying, the first Sunday we saw him, it just wasn't right. And we did something about it. I'm glad we did. There on the middle of page 3 is first how you begin. You talk to your church board, get them on base with you. You will want to use people in your church. Now, those of you who don't have one of these sheets, I'm embarrassed. Let the board make up a list first. Then you add to the list and ask for permission. Ask them about locking the doors or disruptive people, what you want to do. Should the board authorize people to carry? Should there be an outside sign? And by the way, if you want to authorize someone to carry, go ahead. It's just you don't need to. And the reason insurance companies don't want that, these people feel that this is their weapon. Some of you who are police officers, you've kind of indicated that, and I don't know if I want to ask this question. You can tell me if you want. What's the best weapon you have? What? Your voice. This is my weapon. The badge is not my weapon. Now, we live in a pretty nasty area, and there's hardly an area that doesn't have crime. But we don't carry our badges anymore. Now, I'm a captain, so my badge is gold, and I really like it. I like to feel it. Ooh, it's pretty nice. Can't wear it. They're sewn on patches. They're not even gold. Kind of silver, ugly, But my badge is not my most powerful weapon. My firearm. This weapon here, this is a surprise weapon. Whoa! My shotgun, or the AR-15, that's our weapons. We have 7 firearms, which include a taser in each one of our squads. 7. But this is your weapon. And you who are on the church security team, you can make people feel good or bad. You can clarify. Back up to that list, I had 10 OC spray containers, 4 megaphones, because when there's an audience going down the hall of 40 people, just 40, and you want to tell them, no, out that door, that's where the problem is. You need a megaphone. The only reason I think I ever got to be a police officer was my voice. Stop! Where'd that come from? God? I can stop somebody. Only I'm a Christian. I have never sworn. I know every swear word there is to know. So it takes me about 10 words to do what the other guys do in 5 words. But I do it loudly. Then get some hats and some shirts that say security. And the next thing, that next sentence, after a serious incident and at your next church meeting, so after the Sunday after, like July 31st was that Sunday, so August 7th, we wore our security shirts. The police were in attendance at our services, and everybody needed that because Tony was there. And so they felt, oh, Bill is in security. I didn't know that. Now, maybe you will not want to reveal everybody who's in security, but if they see a little bit of a presence, oh, they have a plan. And the police are here, and they're smiling, and you're smiling. So that's when you would wear that. And then some bright LED flashlights. Now, these are about $100 each. These are 170 lumens, and so they are pretty bright. I mean, if I went out here right now, I could actually shine here for at least 500 to 600 feet. And this will last 7 hours. And there's 3, if you look up there, they'll keep going less and less. So this can go up to 15 hours. And then it has that. That'll help. You there, what's wrong with you? Stop moving. But you need a couple of really nice flashlights. And there's ones that are more broad than tight. There's that clean, dark colored blanket for someone who had a medical emergency. And then a red colored sheet to cover somebody who was bleeding. A first aid kit and an AED for defibrillating. Yes, sir. Yes. First of all, they can be up to $1,000. They can be $500, and so on. If you go to the fire department and ask, who would help us buy one of these for our church? You just might be surprised. Why would they want that? You've done the work before they got there. And this person now, you're just doing CPR. Have the police physically inspect your place sometime. That's number 2 on page 3. Make any property improvements they might suggest. They're not going to demand it. It's not like the fire department. You're not going to put a lock on your door. Oh, we're going to do this. Okay. The police department say, fine. This is the Lord's and our church building property. Treat it that way. I'm thankful to God through the prayers of people and God's care of his house. We had ushers to take care of things and deacons. We still have them. But now, because of crime, we need to be more productive. And I can tell you, it's going to get worse, and people are going to come to your church if it seems, wow, they're planning for problems. And yet, nothing that will interfere with their spiritual experience here. And your church doesn't need any vigilantes. Yes? Somewhere along the line, we have to have the comfort level. If this was where the old church was on English Avenue, I would, that's a pretty rough neighborhood down there. And having somebody throw something through the window or whatever was perhaps more productive to spend the extra money to protect that. Excuse me? Okay. Just last month, a man in Wisconsin, they had it on television, developed a polymer that is 1/8 inch thick. It's like Mylar, but it's not. And you can stand in front of this one sheet, and he stood there, and they fired a .45 semi-automatic at it. And it cracked it, but not like glass cracks. But still, I'm just not seeing that as much it's more of a vandalism than it is really destruction. But you have to decide. With children, it may be different how you reflect on that. I talked about 911. Always enlist the support of the congregation in what you're doing very, very moderately. You're not going to say, all right, we have a security force. Our new Hummer is ordered. We'll have a cannon. I mean, yeah, thank you. How should a church plan for security, church security? Many experts recommend starting with a volunteer church security ministry. At Spring Creek, big church in Milwaukee on Capitol Drive in Pewaukee, all of their people are volunteer. The people that are engaged in specific stops or retaliatory, and those that carry a firearm are all police officers, either retired or active, or someone in the military. And they meet often. Churches, I say at the bottom sentence, should remain open and approachable. The knee-jerk reaction to the recent rash of violence is to batten the hatches and live in fear. Churches should guard against this. God is still in control, and we can plan better. Now there's first and second on page 5, what you should do, why your church needs a security plan. That's the actual protocol, the actual list of what you're doing. Start out simple. You don't have to start out with looking at someone's book and then just duplicating it and copying it. How many people are killed in a church in America every year? Now, it went up substantially in Texas last year. All right. This is 1999 to 2017. And actually, this came with a report to me about the Baptist shooting in Texas, First Baptist Church. 75 on an average now. And it has kind of just leveled off for a while. But are killed in a church every year. Glenn Evans from Church Security Alliance sends me an email every Sunday night about where all the shootings were. And they are like Mr. Codgers, who takes the money to the bank Monday morning. I mean, they watch patterns. But the incidence of problems in the church, look at this. The red. Yep. The green line below, and this will be in the packet that I'll send you. It's just the one on the Texas church. Our society has changed. Issues have become more controversial. The church becomes more controversial too. Christian churches can take varying views on issues, and those views might be perceived by some as too liberal or too conservative. So as controversy around a church starts to develop, there's a rift that comes with it. Page 6. What does your organization plan to do? Well, you can read that. Brotherhood Mutual Insurance Company urges all churches to have a violence response plan. This is not just church shootings. One that helps you respond swiftly and appropriate to threats against the people. That's it. That's your calling card. Fit your first kind of response. And what's the first response you need to decide to do in your church? Call 911. Let the police handle the whole thing. You don't have anyone else in your security team. All these mass shootings or active shooter situations. I handled one at the Azana Spa in Milwaukee. A gentleman came in there, shot his wife and 3 other people, and shot 4 other people. Had a long criminal history, unlike Randy, who shot 12 people at this church in Milwaukee. Prepare for the unthinkable. Planning communication for a potential thing. Media relations. Remember, get a spokesman and funnel everything through them. And the rest of you who are on the church security team, shut up. Be quiet. To your wife and everybody else, just be quiet. Hold this. I deal with victims. In our department, I don't know what's going on in Milwaukee right now. Last week, I responded to 5 rapes in our area. 5 rapes in Waukesha County. It's just one little county. 50 rapes so far this year. These people, when I say, do you want me to call your pastor, rabbi, reverend, or priest? They say no. They don't want the information out. And I warned them about, like, bank holdups, the other tellers, the family. Will say, well, was he white? Was he Asian? Was he black? What was he wearing? You know, well, how much money did he get? And just things they want to tell other people. Sorry for the this. Shut up. You don't have to propagate this thing. You are in control. And in your church here, it'll get out, but don't assist it to get out. You can read the rest on page 6. Let's see. In a fire on page 7, if there's a medical emergency on page 7, if a weapon is shown or spoken of, and it's hard to know, but I will make somebody show me their gun. You know, I have a gun. Give me your money. Give me your money. Hey, I like guns. What kind of gun is it? That's not what they were expecting. What kind of gun is it? Don't you know? They're faking me out, but scaring me to death, but I'll do the right thing. The preacher should be the one telling the congregation to stay in the sanctuary, on the floor, tell everyone to calm down and pray, and then out that door. How fast can they shoot you? Huh. You didn't even get to say, now I want, and you're down. So you'll have to make a choice. And if you go somewhere, just bow down like this and run as fast as you can. And that's why I say, you may want to put a half-inch piece of aluminum or a 3/8-inch steel plate in that pulpit. Because they're going to be aiming for you. If we had scenarios tonight, we'd actually put someone in all these locations. You can decide that for your church. But make it clear to the pastor what he or she needs to do. They need to exit, and they need to do it fast. It's like the gangs at the mall. If we get rid of the troublemakers, and some people just like to fight each other. They just, and it doesn't have to be two guys. It can be two girls. They're just fighting each other. They love all the attention. And if we take them out, we don't care about the whole group. We're not even interested if they stole some material from this store over here and the security squad is coming. We grab them because we have a presence always in these malls. And we move fast. It's just motorized, that's all I'll say. We move fast, and we yank them out. We drag them out into the hallway and get them out of there. And then the whole team is like, no, nothing. Yeah. Well, might as well go home. And if we disturb something like throwing hymnals, which you don't have, sorry. Well, if you've got a good Bible, maybe you don't want to throw it, but you could bring an old Bible, but just throw it to disrupt what they're thinking about. I had one thing I was going to read, and I just don't have time. Yes?
Who do we tell if we have a credible, or where a credible threat?
The police department.
But I mean, I'm saying it's a potential situation, not no one is directly threatening you, but you have credible fear of that. How many in the church should be aware that you feel that there is someone who could possibly snap or could possibly they didn't actually threaten you, but you have a suspicion that there could be circumstances that you should be aware of.
The security team should be, and no one else. The rest of it is gossip. And if it gets out that you'd said that John Levere here was threatening with a homemade bomb, or something, and everybody got to know that, he could sue you. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. Everybody who wants to call 911 should call. Dispatch will say, I already have someone on the line from that church. You know, when you're driving down the road, and I do a lot of driving, when you're driving down the road and there is a car, and there's just been an accident or something, my wife is always the first one. Should we call 911? Yeah, I already got it. The rest of the people probably, ooh, I should have really, well, I don't, Brenda's birthday party is in 2 minutes. I'm sure that someone behind me will call. Well, maybe not. May I take another 5 minutes here? Is that all right? Is everybody, if you have to go? Have any one of you heard of this book, Love and Respect? This is the workbook. Talks about how God tells the men to love their wives and wives to respect their husbands. We also have a big problem in our churches between couples who don't understand God's work here. And if you want to take these, this is 15 and this one's 10. But if you just want to take them, or look up Love and Respect, Emerson Eggers. He has a DVD class. Sonia and I first took it about 20 years, and in our church we're doing it for the third time. And it is just so good. 15 sessions, we do it in the Sunday school. I'm just saying that we have also an enemy within that is working in our couples. I look out to my audience, and having worked with victims for 24 years in the DA's office, we're told as officers to stereotype nobody and stereotype everybody. So you don't think, oh, there's just a grandma there, that'll be nothing. And, oh, she's got a shotgun. But there's a lot of harm going on in our churches, in couples. I can almost spot it, and sometimes I can. And that has to be addressed. These booklets, Dealing with Dangerous People, Preventing a Violent Incident in Your Church, Medical Emergency Preparation, Protecting Your Church from Crime and Violence, Same-Sex Marriage and Gender Identity, is from a Christian group called Church Law and Tax. These are about $20 each. I'll have them, I've gotten permission, I have them on that list, and you can print them off. So I paid for that. But I'm just saying, if you want those materials. I have all kinds of materials on elders. As we get older, certainly not me, as we get older, we don't move as fast and we're a little careless. And there's so much available to help our people in our churches, older people or whatever, just from everyday things that we're not careful about. When you ladies come out of a mall, stop, look around. Okay, you can look as if, where did I put my car? Okay, was it over there? And you're actually looking, who's around you? All right, that's when Sonia has the OC spray in her hand. What's the worst case scenario? When she was a nurse, she go to work at night at St. Joe's Hospital in Milwaukee, and what is she gonna, some guy come up, she sprays him, oh, it's me, oh, Dr. Eggert, I'm so sorry, head of cardiology, oh man. The worst case scenario is a $500 wrongful squirt suit, I guess, something like that. But look around. If carjackings in Milwaukee are out of sight, try this on you. 100 a week. A week. Pull you out and steal your car. Just look it up. How can you stop it? I can tell you one way. When you get in your car, especially you ladies, you guys too though, when you get in your car, put on your seatbelt. Good chance they'll look, seatbelt, forget it, can't pull them out. But be looking at your surroundings. I have this step-by-step how to, this will all be on that sheet, step-by-step on setting up a plan for violence. Your guide to armed volunteer church security. Must be about 20 pages. Very, very good. I passed out that one sheet that's from this book. I have Preventing Crime and Violence. This is by Guide 1. I think this one is 30 pages. Very good. Each one of these, this one by Brotherhood, the Preventing Crime and Violence, they have samples how to set up your security. Safe sanctuaries, they have that. I'll have that in there. This one here is the best, and it is 250 pages. Safety and Security Guideline, Brotherhood Mutual Insurance costs $40. And I'll send the material how to order this. But in here is everything how to, right up to date. And these are the people that are going to protect you if you have an incident in your church. Even if you don't set it up exactly like they say, it's just like, did you do anything that was customary to setting up a team? Big step up. That you thought of something, at least. It was not the right thing. And you will never be prepared for everything that should be done. That book there, I have, if you want one tonight, or you want to get it online and pay for it, that book there, that's just everything I've talked about. Just fantastic for your church. Protect your church congregation from a gunman, great. Gun laws and church security, there's a lot to know. I haven't covered it all. Thank you for coming. 2 hours. This is usually 4 hours. I wanted to whet your appetite, but there's something you can do. One person, call 911. And then start with a second person, a third person, and let people know that they'll know you. Guests will come in. Who's that dude over there? Oh, that's Doug Cox. He's in charge of security. And I'm probably standing like. But people will feel better. Just like if you sat in this seat and it's a plank or a nice cushion. I feel comfortable here. So God bless you in your work. The battle is the Lord's, but He wants you prepared. So be prepared in some way. And when something happens, the battle is the Lord's. Don't worry about it till you really get disgusted and don't want to come to church anymore. And that's our last thing we want to have, is something happen in our churches and people don't want to come. Thank you for coming. Again, God bless you. Let's close in a word of prayer. Good evening, Father. We thank you for those hands of clap. Good evening, Father. We thank you for information. Love of the brethren. Your love. You are so mighty. You're out there. We thank you, Father, for salvation full and free, for the Word of God, the Bible that we can enjoy and understand. Our church is where we can worship together, whoever comes in, not just our little clan, our group, but anybody. And what we seek, Father, is to worship you greater and better and more closely. And may we be in an attitude that when you speak to our hearts through your Spirit and our spirit, that our attitude will be this: we can respond, we will respond, and do the right thing. Help us, Father. We pray for our nation. Man, pray for our nation. In Jesus' name, amen. You are dismissed. If you have any questions, I'll be here. Come on up. And if you didn't write down your name and your email address. Please just take my name, wherever that slip, there's some back there. Send me an email, say, Doug, send me everything, and I'll send it to you. Oh, one more thing. If any of you use or carry a knife, and now I do, but my knife has little wings on it, because if I have a gun and this guy is attacking me, I'm going to be stabbing him, and if there's nothing to stop my hand from going onto the blade, you might as well throw that knife away. Sorry. Need anything? Here, tell you what. Here's 5 DVDs. Which one do you want? Want one? Huh?
We're actually in the middle of doing our plan right now. We just got approved by our pastors, our leadership and stuff to work on it. So I'm probably going to be one of the leads on it. So we're going to have our plan in 2 or 3 weeks. So this worked out really well. You know, God's timing, right? That's how He rolls.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know what might be, you know, maybe the best thing that I might maybe pass out to everybody. We've already talked about just a few things about training who should be on the team, how we do the background checks, and then, you know, policies or whatever.